This action is also in line with the growing political purpose to regulate cryptocurrency markets in a way that strikes a balance between protecting investors and encouraging innovation. This action is in accordance with the expanding political goal. This measure is consistent with the expanding political goal that is being pursued. In light of the fact that the blockchain industry is currently experiencing development, legislators are aware of the fact that there is an opportunity for them to establish a global standard for fairness in transactions that involve public offerings of digital assets. An opportunity presents itself as a result of the impending initial public offering, IPO, of Ripple, which is rapidly approaching. This particular phrasing has the potential to serve as a template for future legislation, not only for Ripple but also for other blockchain companies who are planning to go public in the years to come. The reason for this is that the incorporation of this language comes with the possibility of functioning as a model. During the period of the blackout, there was a huge and exceptionally good development that occurred when seen from the perspective of trust and confidence. Investors will be aware that Ripple's leadership and early supporters are, in fact, all in for the long haul, and that their financial success is not reliant on short-term price surges, but rather on the company's steady growth over the course of years. This information will be communicated to investors. One item that investors will be aware of is this particular fact. Because of this alignment between retail investors and insiders, the market environment is encouraged to be healthier, with less volatility and greater attention on the fundamentals that are driving Ripple's growth. This is because of the fact that retail investors are more likely to be inside larsson. In addition to this, the market environment is being encouraged to become healthier. The provision has substantial consequences for the stock price of Ripple, which is tied to the company's financial status. It is vital to note that these implications may have an impact on the stock price. The public float, which is the number of shares that are accessible for trading, will be dramatically reduced immediately after the initial public offering, IPO, as a result of locking up a significant portion of shares for a period of 5 years. This will take place immediately after the IPO. The public float will subsequently experience a considerable decrease as a consequence of this. A smaller float is connected with a reduction in supply-side pressure and price volatility, which often results in a more stable increasing price trend. This is something that can be observed in the market. According to the fact that there is a correlation between the two, this correlation is the effect of that correlation. If there was no possibility of insiders flooding the market with shares, it would be reasonable to anticipate that the price of Ripple stock would steadily increase in response to positive company news, adoption milestones, and broader market trends. This would be a reasonable prediction. In the event, if there was no possibility of insiders flooding the market with shares, this would be the possible outcome. As a consequence of this, the groundwork is laid for a bull run that has the potential to last for an exceedingly prolonged distance of time. The fierce opposition to the blackout provision is backed by a considerable number of persons and organizations. This opposition is also supported by a large number of people, companies that are involved in private equity and venture capital, which usually rely on selling shares in a relatively short length of time after initial public offerings. IPOs are exerting a large amount of effort to oppose the legislation. This is because these types of businesses are frequently dependent on the sale of. It has been brought to light that a draft of the Ripple Initial Public Offering Fairness Act has been made available for public consumption, which has resulted in shockwaves being transmitted across the cryptocurrency sector as well as the financial markets. One of the provisions that is contained in this act is called the Blackout Clause, and it is really fascinating. At the time when it is being discussed, it is being referred to. The clause stipulates that all owners of Ripple who were stockholders prior to the initial public offering are required to adhere to a stringent lockup length of 5 years. This lockup duration is imposed under the provision. In practice, this indicates that Ripple's executives, early investors, venture capital companies, and anybody else who possessed shares before to the initial public offering will be prevented from selling their shares for a period of 60 months after the public offering. This means that they will be unable to sell their shares. This limitation will remain in effect for the entirety of the time that the public offering is being conducted. If I were to tell you the truth, it would be very difficult to overstate the significance of this. I would say that it is exceedingly difficult. Since initial public offerings, IPOs, were first launched, one of the most significant concerns that investors have faced throughout the course of several decades is the possibility of insider dumping. This danger has been one of the most pressing issues that investors have faced. In the event that individuals who are closest to the firm immediately sell shares in order to cash out, which results in a decrease in stock values and leaves regular investors to bear the brunt of the consequences, the company may wind up losing a large amount of money at the end of the day. This issue is currently being attacked head-on, and by the United States Congress, which is making an effort to do so by ensuring that senior leaders continue to remain entirely aligned with the organization's intention to be profitable over the long run. According to this law, Ripple's initial public offering, IPO, is in a position to become a paradigmatic example of justice and transparency in the field of public offerings. This is because of the law. A development of this nature is anticipated to take place in the not-too-distant future. According to the clause text that was leaked, it is made extremely plain and unequivocal that all pre-IPO stockholders are required to go through a lockup period that lasts for 60 months. This requires them to maintain their ownership of the company. Therefore, for a period of 5 years, beginning on the date of the initial public offering, IPO, no insider will be permitted to sell shares. This restriction will apply regardless of the job that they have or the amount of money that they have invested in the firm. When compared to the standard lockups for initial public offerings, IPOs, which typically last between 90 and 180 days, this is a significant departure from the norm. Clearly, this is a very important distinction. The United States Congress has made the decision to prolong this time period to a period of 5 years in order to ensure that insiders will not be able to manipulate the stock price by making early transactions. On the other hand, the stock of the company will be determined only by the actual commercial performance of the firm, as well as by innovation and the acceptance of the company by both partners and customers. If the company is successful, the stock will be defined, the kind of legislation that has been requested by a sizable number of retail investors in an effort to achieve the objectives of restoring confidence in initial public offerings, IPOs, and leveling the playing field is the kind of legislation that is being discussed here. To tell you the truth, the level of annoyance that people have, this is the case despite the fact that there has been opposition to the proposal. It has been asserted that the Ripple Initial Public Offering Fairness Act, which includes a blackout restriction, is beneficial to all of the parties engaged in the transaction. This is because it provides the company with the opportunity to prove its value to the market, while at the same time shielding regular investors from the potential of speculative dumping. This is the reason why this is the case. It would be one of the public offerings that is most favorable to investors in the entire history of the world. If this law were to be implemented, that would make it one of the most attractive public offerings. It is important to note that this blackout rule has a substantial impact on both persons who already possess XRP and those who are considering making an investment in it. The fact that this is the case not only provides Ripple with an additional degree of security over its long-term outlook, but it also makes the prospect of investing in Ripple more appealing as the company prepares to go forward with its plans to go public. Those investors who have been holding XRP for years have an even stronger motivation to continue their commitment to the cryptocurrency since they are aware that insiders would not pay out their shares by liquidating them early. This allows them to continue their commitment to the cryptocurrency. It is not something that generally takes place, but as a result of the circumstances surrounding the initial public offering IPO, this leads in a sense of solidarity between ordinary investors and the leaders of the company. Because of what is going to happen in the future, it is of the utmost importance for the community to keep a close eye on the evolution of this law as it makes its way through Congress. Not only will Ripple's Initial public offering, IPO, become a watershed event for XRP, but it will also be a watershed moment for the whole blockchain industry if it is successful in overcoming the blackout regulation, which will be a challenging problem between the two sides. This is due to the fact that the blackout rule will be involved in a contentious discussion between the two parties. The manner in which initial public offerings, IPOs of cryptocurrencies are conducted all over the world could potentially be influenced by this, with a particular emphasis on fairness, transparency, and the protection of long-term investors. This could potentially set a precedent. In conclusion, the blackout restriction that is included in the Ripple Initial Public Offering Fairness Act is more than just a component of the regulatory framework. It will be discussed further in the following paragraphs. The manner in which initial public offers, IPOs, can and should be carried out is going to go through a sweeping upheaval as a direct consequence of this. The United States Congress is sending a strong statement that the interests of retail investors and the long-term health of the company come first by prohibiting insiders from selling shares for a period of 5 years. This measure is intended to prevent insiders from selling shareholder shares. Indeed, this is a powerful assertion. The initial public offering IPO that Ripple is planning to conduct has the potential to become one of the most reliable